talk about what your team learned about this blueprint and the length of time that Israel had to review these plans and why it wasn't listened to.
So somewhere around along 2022, Israeli intelligence was able to get the plan for the Hamas attack. It was codenamed by Israeli intelligence the Wall of Jericho, the Jericho Wall. And it details in many different details how the attack is going to take place, exactly as it took place more than a year after. This could be an intelligence victory for Israel, but Israeli analysts, some of the seniors of Israeli intelligence, saw the plan as more of, they call it a compass for the building of the forces, where Hamas wants to be, but not where Hamas is. So while having that plan, they saw this as something that Hamas is far from being capable of doing. They believe that Hamas doesn't have the ability to conduct such a massive operation. We are talking about, according to that plan, to break the fence between Gaza and Israel in 60 different places. Israel believed they could do that maybe in 2 places. It called for the bombing and destruction of the cameras instantly, the same simultaneously, the beginning of the attack of the cameras, the automatic guns, the communication centers, and then the ramping of the division headquarters, the Gaza division headquarters that is in charge of protecting the front. In July of this year, so a year after, an analyst that was reviewing intercepts about Hamas military exercises wrote a letter, an email, an exchange of email, encrypted email. She comes from 8200, this is the Israeli NSA, the equivalent to the American NSA. And she described that drill, and she said that she believes that Hamas is narrowing the gap between the Wall of Jericho plan and its real capabilities. And there was a pushback from more senior intelligence officers that told her, this is an imaginary plan. They cannot do that. And so here is the tragedy for Israeli intelligence, for Israeli public. Instead of positioning, it's not just an intelligence debate. If Israeli defense forces would adopt this plan as something that Hamas can do, even without any connection to the intention of Hamas, the decision to execute, this is something that the analyst couldn't say. She did not push back on the Israeli wisdom at that time meaning 3-4 months ago, that Hamas doesn't want to go to all-in-one. But if the Israeli defense establishment had the knowledge that Hamas is capable of launching such an attack, that would put a total different size of forces on the border. The outcome could be very different.
Also, according to your reporting, this analyst, this woman analyst, saw an exercise that Hamas undertook, a trial run, and raised red flags again, saying this looks very much like the Wall of Jericho plan that we had discussed before. And again, would seem to have been dismissed.
Not just that. She says, here's an interesting bit of information. The same quote from the Quran, Surah Al-Ma'idah, that begins with which this detailed plan for action, this detailed plan for attack starts with. It's called for, this is something about Moses, but it's about the surprise entry through a gate. I think it's not a coincidence that Hamas picked this up. The people participating, the Hamas gunmen participating in that drill were using the same quote. The same quote is now part of the emblem of Hamas used in all Hamas publications, statement and videos. since the attack.
As you know, the Israeli government posted online on X last month, quote, contrary to the false claims, under no circumstances and at no stage was Prime Minister Netanyahu warned of Hamas's war intentions. They went on to say at no point was a warning given to Prime Minister Netanyahu on Hamas's intention to start a war. On the contrary, all the defense officials, including the heads of the Intelligence Directorate and the Shin Bet, assessed that Hamas was deterred. Do you know if the Prime Minister was, in fact, informed? Because it sounds like from your reporting that this document was widely disseminated in intelligence and military circles.
Yeah. So we don't know if Prime Minister Netanyahu was presented with this document. We do know, and this comes from previous reporting, that he was warned again and again and again and again, and in details, at least in 4 different letters throughout the last year, that the members of the so-called axis of resistance, Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, see Israeli weakness and they might decide to use what they believe a window of opportunity to attack.
Yeah.
This document was sent to many, and I think this is a good point for further reporting about who saw and who decided to continue with this so-called conception, the ability to believe that Hamas is contained.